r/ask Reddit. What are some norms today that should not be accepted at all? Politicians not keeping their word and not being held accountable for anything except mere infringements of their positions. We seem to be pretty tolerant of politicians telling bold-faced lies. I mean utter fabrications that are demonstrably and unequivocally false. I'm not okay with this. Yes, I say we bring back the guillotine. Clickbait. It's pretty much the tabloid of the internet. Also tabloids, slanted news sites that are secret propaganda, etc. Even conventional news sites are all in on clickbait. It's a ducking embarrassment. Doing stupid things and calling it a prank. Auschwitz was just a prank. Bro. The camera's right there. Just a social experiment. No need to try me for war crimes. And they say Germans don't have a sense of humor. The whole sneaking into your significant other's phone to go through their stuff, and the other side of that, which is just casually cheating on your significant other whenever the opportunity presents itself. I'm a very private person. My phone/laptop stays locked at all times, not because I'm embarrassed or have something to hide, but because that's how I am. I'm very upfront about this with people I date though, and it's usually not a big deal. In the same way, I work with kids though, so any nudes or messages between my girlfriend and me need to stay hidden, cause they get a hold of my phone a lot, so I have a lock and fingerprinted on it. The amount of waste we make as a society. No one even bats an eye at the insane amount of trash they produce daily. If you do, you still get called a tree-hugging hippie. I've been working for a conservation organization for a couple months now, and our policy is pretty strictly leave no trace, which has really led me to re-examine my consumption habits, and consequently, those of society. It's impossible currently to produce no waste whatsoever, but it's not that difficult to cut down here and there. Yet it's just not something that most people think about. I always admired the Japanese outlook on trash and recycling and composting. Streets in Japanese cities tends to be immaculate because there is a much stronger sense of community when it comes down to taking care of trash. Also, all burnable trash are appropriately filtered with non-burnable and recyclable trash, and they don't let you go off scot-free if you ignore these rules. It helps that they have no alternative. Privacy basically doesn't exist anymore. It does. But no one chooses to have any, because of social media. The illusion of sacrificing privacy may be more effective than seeming closed off. If you believe I put my whole life on social media, that's it. But I can get away with things I don't post because nobody's looking. They all think they've seen the whole picture. That's the new strategy. The rules of dating. Acting disinterested. Ghosting people. Not replying to messages on purpose to look cool. Commitment phobia. Acting social it hurts you. The list goes on and on. Who gave this manual to people that being a decent and honest human being who cares makes you a loser? I have been on dates where the men have ignored my texts, acted disinterested in person, blown off dates, only to tell me weeks later they actually really liked me and wanna be seriously committed. WTF. Modern dating is an exercise in who could care less Olympics. I have a few single friends who always complain about these things and then turn around and say that they don't understand how my boyfriend and I are so happy together because relationships are so restricting. At least I know what his intentions are. Everyone always says they want someone who will watch Netflix with them during rainstorms and make cookies with them at 3 AM. But the thing is that you need to work on and maintain relationships with people to get to that point. It isn't about ordering an instant date and then feeling weird and disappointed when they aren't your soulmate. Make cookies with them at 3:00 am. Euphemisms for sex sure have gotten weird. The polarization of everything. People either love something or absolutely hate it. There's no in between. Also treating every little disagreement like some big us vs them war. Edit. Also, I see this a lot on Reddit. But acting like sitting on the fence is wrong. And that anyone with a neutral opinion is just trying to feel superior to the other sides. This XKCD. https://xkcd.com/774/ The fact that teachers nowadays are afraid of losing their jobs because they told a set of parents that their child isn't perfect. I'm a teacher and this is so true. It's incredibly sad that some parents can't accept the fact their child makes mistakes. I can't imagine what types of adults these kids will grow up to be. Damn, I was in school until 2008 and literally everything was my fault when I told the parents. Had the following exchange with my ed teacher one day. Why haven't you asked for help yet, Smalk? I haven't needed any, sir. I think my website's looking pretty. Get outside and wait, and the hell he got bar locked when I got home and told my mom he'd been kicked out of class and had a week of lunchtime detentions. Apparently the teachers are there to help you and you should ask for help, and it didn't matter that I didn't actually need help. I should have still asked according to my mom. It wasn't even like I was some quiet kid who never contributed. I just followed his basic instructions at the beginning of every lesson and made my shitty little website. At the first detention he looked over my work and went, yeah, it's good, there's nothing you need to do to it. He still had to complete the week of 30-minute lunchtime detentions though. The bastard. Ghosting. Though we didn't call it that when I was dating. If you've never been on a date with someone and just texted/spoke on the phone a few times, then fine. Otherwise, if you've been out a few times, a few weeks, a few months, I mean, come on. I know telling someone you don't want to see them anymore is an ugly conversation. But just do it and get it over with. Your only obligations is to be direct and act decent and polite. I had someone I was in a full-on Facebook official. Met my mom. Relationship with do this to me. He stopped replying. Days went by. I was worried he was dead or in the hospital, so I called him a couple times and he just said working. I dumped him at that point, but I mean I was basically dumped. I had really opened up to him about all the bullshit I've been through and he said, I will never hurt you. That's what they all duck and say, but still. I found out later through a friend that worked with him that I was too clingy and he was testing me. I was too clingy because I expected him to text me once or twice a day and hang out with me once a week. What the duck? Edit. Wow, this blew up. No. I wasn't just waiting for him to contact me. As it says in the post, he stopped replying to me. Literally, we were having a conversation and he just never said anything. I didn't say anything for 2 days and then said something like, hey, I'm kinda worried I haven't heard from you in a few days. Just wanting to make sure you're okay. Nothing. I waited another day and said, is everything okay? Nothing. During the relationship he tended to initiate plans. But probably about 30% of the time I would. He and I had also had a discussion on how much is too much communication. We agreed hearing from each other most days at least once was the fine. If he had wanted to revisit that, he could. Instead he dropped off the face of the earth. Same basically happened to me last year. Dated a woman for about 5 months. Things going great. Then one day she stopped answering my calls and texts. I was seriously concerned that something had happened to her. Even went by her house several times but no luck. After a week of no contact I gave up and moved on with my life. 2 months later she texted me some big long story about how her life had been all turned upside down with family issues etc. and she wanted to get back together. Gave her a flat no and haven't heard from her since. I have no way of knowing what really happened in those 2 months or why she flaked out, but if she couldn't muster a simple text to say I need a break. Life is crazy, then she's obviously not worth my time. Police sirens on radio commercials. And in songs in general. Well, never know how many people get in wrecks every year by looking around to see where the siren is coming from. It's insane that the FCC has to censor every 4-letter word on the radio. But if you want to put a sound effect in your song that creates an actual traffic hazard, go ahead and have fun. Kids. And the heart attacks of people smoking weed that hear sirens and gunshots in a song. Not cool. Whenever I send out a Facebook or online event invite, I get some number of yeses. Mostly maybes. And some nos. The yeses have perhaps a 50% chance of showing up. The maybes have a very low chance of showing. It makes it very hard to plan. I have a policy that my yes means I must go. And I have been to several parties where I was the only attendee. Especially frustrating when you spend lots of money on movie tickets or food or supplies that go to waste. Yes means maybe. Maybe means probably not. No answer means no. And no means duck you. That is a perfect explanation. Creating a game, and then withholding key features. Said key features are then released as DLC, but should have been there in the first place. Side note, for what it's worth, I really enjoy the DLC system Ubisoft uses with Rainbow Six. More companies should implement it. And releasing remastered versions of games that are buggier than the original. Also charging $15 for a map pack when the original 10 years ago was $10. Not to mention this remaster was also a special edition game add-on where you were forced to buy the 80 copy instead of just $20. Modern Warfare Remastered. Saying I'm going to kill myself is a normal thing and we don't take it seriously anymore. Yeah. It is shitty that it has become commonplace. But if someone says it a lot then try not to get mad at them. People joking about wanting die often really do want to die. And them making jokes about it is both a coping mechanism and a cry for help. At least that's how I perceive it. But maybe that's just using anecdotal reasoning. I joked about wanting to die a lot when I was truly suicidal. It was definitely a way to cope. Throwing it out casually helped me control the thoughts better and made me feel less alone in it. So, that being said, after realizing I truly did need help and admitting myself to a behavioral health hospital, I'm much more mindful about throwing it around like a joke. Sometimes I still feel that way. That lol I wanna die, and sometimes it slips into jokes. But my close friends know me well enough to ask, hey, you okay? What's going on? If I start joking about it a lot again, I feel incredibly blessed to have friends like that who care about me. Texting and driving. You're operating a powerful machine. It's okay to focus just on that. Got it? Pay no attention to the road. Nearly killing yourself, or risking death for YouTube views. I think this has always, and will always be a norm. If not YouTube, then a group of friends will suffice. Some people just get a high off of being risky in front of an audience. I agree. Jackass wasn't popular for nothing. The fact that so many young people are okay with censoring speech they don't agree with. I'd say it more generally. That the populace looks at the government as a personal service that bans things they don't like without any consideration to larger implications. It constantly boggles my mind that people want to give the government more and more power when they've shown time and again to be incompetent and corrupt for at least the last few decades. Calling for the death of anyone you dislike. But my guillotine business was just taking off. I guess I'll have to cut all of my prices. Quit before you get ahead. Being fashionably late to things. No. It is not trendy. It tells me you're a selfish jerk who does not value the time of others. If something has a set time, like weddings or formal dinners, I make sure to be there at least 10 minutes earlier. However, to offer a different perspective, if it's informal like a July 4th BBQ or something, I think it's polite to be 10 to 15 minutes late in case the host is running late. If I know someone cares about being on time, I will make the effort. However, I have been annoyed with perpetually early friends. One of them came over almost half an hour before the time they were invited to hang out with me, and I found it a bit irritating. Like, I invited you for that time as I'm in the middle of other things. They had to sit around the house while I wrap things up. While being late dismisses other people's time. Being early can do the same thing. Self-diagnosis of mental disorders based off of romanticized, ignorant ideas of the illness. I actually have OCD, and the number of people talking about their OCD and how they can't stand when things are out of order, or when the vast majority of people with this illness couldn't care less how organized things are and are too worried that if I move this book to the other shelf, their entire family will die, or the fact that the oils on their skin feels wrong and need to scrub off the skin to make it feel right again. This goes for so many other illnesses. I'm just more knowledgeable of this one. Fellow OCD sufferer here. People alphabetized their CDs and are all at Twitter over how they're so OCD. No. OCD is when you spend hours counting something over and over and over. Or getting up to check that the oven really is off for 4 hours. To non-OCD people reading this, we know it's totally illogical, and we don't really want to eat, but our mind gets stuck in this mode that's hard to explain to someone who isn't obsessive compulsive. Believe me, it's a miserable condition. Ducking, thank you. Not an OCD sufferer, but I did suffer from severe depression, anxiety and PTSD. My friend, upon finding out, suddenly revealed her own problems: depression, anxiety and PTSD. These were all self-diagnosed, and whilst I was willing to help her, she displayed none of the symptoms of any of the illnesses. Digging a little deeper, I found out she didn't want to go to a doctor, because I know myself better than they do. Anytime I had a panic attack, she had one. An obviously fake one. She shouted at me for getting more attention when I cried than her. I did not want the attention at all, and even tried to tell me I wasn't actually depressed. Bonus round, I wasn't actually depressed, according to her, because she's the only one around like this. Luckily the rest of my friends ignored her bullshit and she quickly left the 6th form to go to college, because my teachers will do my work there if my anxiety is bad. Duck you Tumblr for ruining so many people's perception of mental illnesses. Overfishing our oceans, lakes and rivers. http www.ischooltoday.com/overfishing/impact of overfishing. HTML. Being unable to speak out when you see someone doing something wrong. It's become socially unacceptable to make a person feel ashamed for their actions. This has been going on for years. People like to look the other way, afraid of the consequences of getting involved. Double standards? My cousin told me this, and it was pretty recent. He and his 2 friends were at the Rolling Loud concert in Miami. FL, and in front of them, there were 3 people. A guy, his girlfriend, and his friend. His friend leaves his seat, and he holds it for him. Some drunk girl comes in, sits down, and the guy says, "I'm saving the seat for my friend. Do you mind going somewhere else?" The girl goes off on the dude, and she stays in the seat. It escalates and she starts hitting him, and he is keeping his distance from her. His GF steps in, and at that point security comes in and tackles the dude. He was about to get kicked out of the concert, and my cousin and a few others were telling security it wasn't him. They got the girl and escorted her out. There's more examples, but this one takes the cake for me. TL. Doctor, dude told the girl to find a different seat. She proceeds to beat him, and security jumps the dude. This happened to me. A female security guard tried grabbing me, and I pulled away from her, because I thought she bumped into me, which she did. Next thing I know, I'm in a headlock, because this bitch told the other security that I pushed her over. When I was younger, I went to a bar, and was waiting for some friends. A bachelorette party rolled on in, and was doing one of those scavenger hunt type deals, where apparently one of the items was a guy's underwear. I'm sure plenty of guys would have volunteered, but I was asked and said no. I laughed and joked, because they seemed to just be having fun. But apparently no wasn't an acceptable answer. 4 girls tried to hold me down, and take my pants off against my will. In public. A room full of people all stood and laughed. Until I went duck this, and threw them off me. Things then changed from funny to everyone booing, and security telling me to leave, threatening to call the police. I told them to duck off and please do, which resulted in a fight between me and 3 of them, and a collective cheer when they finally got me out the door. Ed put one of them down, and done some damage on the other 2, who were trying to drag me around the back. No doubt to kick the shit out of me. When my friends arrived, and they decided to just ban us all for life. I imagine that if me and my mates went into a pub and held a random unwilling girl down in order to steal her underwear, things would have gone quite differently. The fact that Flint still doesn't have clean water. Along with that, how the residents are being expected to pay the water department or feel be removed from their homes. Not like most of those people want to stay there anymore. But it's kicking people when they're down, and it's fucking upsetting. Rioting over goddamn anything. Conservative speaker at a university? Riot. Your team lost the soccer game. Riot. Too many riots. Riot. It's fucking insane. I think we should riot over this. calling things autistic, or using autist/autism as an insult. Spurgy or Spurglord. Ugh, I work with a dude with Asperger's, and although I don't like his work ethic, he's polite and friendly and rambles about his favorite games and movies. That's how I know he is on the web frequently. And the idea that strangers are going around throwing his condition around like an insult is so sad to me. I have a form of autism as well. Really not afraid to share it online, because it hardly matters. I really don't get insulted at all when people yell you're being autistic at others. That's way too PC. We call other people kittens and girly and gay all the time and nobody cares. I don't exactly see the issue with calling people autistic or retarded. Maybe I'm overlooking something. I can't tell others how to live their lives. As a gay guy, I totally feel you on this. One of the worst parts about coming out to friends and family is that everyone acts like it's the end of the world if they call something gay. WTF, I do that too, and it's not a big deal. Honestly, if the biggest concern you have is someone using your condition/orientation as an insult, you have a pretty sweet life. The boys will be boys argument. Everyone regardless of anything is held accountable for their actions. Unless some mental disability. Being socially awkward is considered cool or common. I don't remember where I heard it, but when my parents were growing up, being awkward was just considered you were a shy person. I think we are dehumanizing as a whole by constantly labeling ourselves. Being actually socially awkward isn't cool. From what I've seen, people who call themselves socially awkward are usually using self-deprecating humor, or being modest, or talking through an insecurity. And I feel like people maybe say it more often, because it's becoming more acceptable to talk about your insecurities. I'm curious what you have in mind when you say that it's considered cool or common. College students here in America viewing blacking out from alcohol consumption as some sort of badge of honor. Yeah. That behavior was around 30 plus years ago too. Trust me, I had too many college-aged acquaintances back then who blacked out on a regular basis. Thankfully a few grew out of it. Using raped as a common term for having a hard day, or getting beat in a video game. I'm pretty sure doing better than another 12-year-old in Call of Duty, and raping a human being aren't on the same level. Originally that was what the term meant. It wasn't limited to sexual assault. The verb definition is to seize and take away by force, which I did. In fact, rate the win from you. Alternative facts. Accepting that Facebook is always monitoring your phone. Men and women not treating each other as they would wish to be treated. Lots of bullshit. Lots of pointless antagonism happening on that battlefront. On both sides. The weird dating rules. I don't even know them all, because thank God I met my husband before these kids got all crazy. But the idea of how often you have to text, when to put out, what you're not supposed to do or say. OMG. Just have a conversation, and decide if you get along, and wanna make hoopy or not. Unequivocally accepting authority's testimony or not being allowed to question authority. Celebrities committing crimes and getting the absolute smallest charges possible. Looking at you, Kodak. Saying your child is 24 months. For duck's sake, you can say 2 years or year and a half, or whatever. How old is your child? 54 months. Duck yourself. The idea that the customer is always right. When you pull over on the side of the street to park where two cars could obviously fit, but you park in the middle area instead of leaving room for a second car. Having to follow gender roles. Like I'm male and everyone expects me to like sports, cars and all that, but I'm just here saying I like to dance. Ugh, I hate when PPL always expect things like this of others. You can dance if you want to, I can leave your friends behind. Because your friends don't dance, and if they don't dance, they are no friends of mine. Being on your phone instead of social interaction when you're specifically hanging out with people. One time I was sitting around a campfire with some people and everyone's on their phones. It might be just a teenager thing, but I do see adults doing it too. It's pretty annoying. Being too cool to know things. Knowledge and insight are power. Stop leaving that to the neckbuds, so you can go back to picking filters on Instagram. Knowing something unforgivable is going on. and not do a thing about it. The Chechen gay genocide that is going on right now jumps to mind. Homelessness. Being overweight. It's the majority of the population now, and needs to change. Eat less. Being an a-hole on the internet, and then calling it trolling. Leaving a shopping cart in the middle of the parking lot. Daylight savings time. People acting purely on emotions. I see grown people throwing tantrums, screaming and accusing everyone else for all of their problems, not accepting fault, weaseling out of any situation, and bragging about how smart they are. If a person wants to call themselves smart, they have to be able to act bigger than their emotions. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content bruh. It's free and that's a great price.